Banyansa Fusu Bunia one can asem. Say Mafu to some Kakre was supreme. Yo, coffee, oh my, a woman, oh many, a mamma. Yenny baby, I call, watch out, I warren. One some, one in pa, as I did pa of you. Yamo Embera, oh my, a woman, oh my, a mamma. Atiwa no ya, Yamichata, Yamana Rena. One so, one in pa, so I wanna be. Yamo Embera, if you had a. One so, one in pa, as I did pa of you. Yamo Embera, if you had a. Oh my baby, if you had a. Oh my baby, I sit baby, if you had a. Oh my baby, if you had a. Yeah, boy, I'm right, baby. Oh, brand new Arabo. Oh my baby, if you had a. Emi no, yeah, boy, I'm right, baby. If you had a. Listen, oh my baby, if you had a. Oh, Brian, where's a baby, if you had a. Oh my baby, if you had a. Yeah, boy, I'm right, baby. Yeah, boy, oh my baby, if you had a. I'm right, boy. Yeah, boy,
A war enemy, we have to work together to preserve our environment and to help our country become better. But unfortunately, there's some policies that are not favoring us. There are some activities also that are affecting our environment, in fact, depleting our reserves, especially our forest reserves as well. You remember a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, also, there was an official statement that was released by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources indicating that they were going to prevent, or it was prohibited for anyone to go into our forest reserves for reconnaissance or, for exploration activities. Now, even after that, we've heard so much about Operation Halt, which is the latest phase of the fight against galamsey or illegal mining in the country. And regardless of how many excavators have been, confiscated, have been destroyed, how many other equipment have been destroyed, we still find out that there are still people in the deepest parts of our forest reserves, on our water bodies as well, also depleting our natural reserves. And we've been warned that if we don't take care very soon, we'll have to even start importing water. That's how bad the situation is. Government says it is committed to fighting galamsey. And we're asking, do you go to the same war that you lost earlier with the same kind of, equipment and the same way by which you lost it anyway? Now, we'll talk about the Atiwa Forest because that has taken center stage, and it's a very concerning issue, especially because, Alfred Okanse has put together a documentary where he says sacrificing the greens for the gold. So he traveled into the forest reserve to find out what exactly was happening on the grounds, and it was very devastating. Even before we take a look at that documentary, I'll just give you some information about the Atiwa Forest. So it's the Tiwa Range Forest Reserve. It's in the eastern region of Ghana, and internationally, it is recognized as one of the highest priority ecosystems in West Africa for its high species diversity, high levels of endemism, and great hydrological importance. So the forest was gazetted as a National Forest Reserve in 1926, then subsequently a Special Biological Protection Area in 1994, a hill sanctuary in 1995, and one of Ghana's 30 globally significant biodiversity areas in 1999. It's also recognized as an important bird area. I'm getting this information, by the way, from Arocha Ghana, arocha.org. And I have one of the people in here who will be having this conversation with me, and so we'll talk about it shortly. But when we talk about the forest having great wealth, we're told that it has about 1,100 plant species, including 56 that area threatened with extinction, and many that are endemic to the Upper Guinea ecoregion. We'll talk about 570, species of butterflies out of the 700 species that we know exist, and also a number of others, in fact, a lot more. 50 species of mammals, 227 bird species, you name it, but it's being threatened by galamsey. Mining of bauxite as well is also another major threat, and many CSOs have spoken against it, that we can turn this into a national park and make more money in the next 25 years than we can ever make from bauxite that is mined from that area. What is being done? Let's take a look at that documentary by Alfred Okanse, aired yesterday. You get to see a bit of it before we continue with our conversation.
Perhaps it's the first time I'll be saying it in public. I am prepared to put my presidency on the line on this matter.
Very well. I mean, look at where we started from. Now we've come to a point where the community mining has been accepted by Ghanaians, and about 25,000 people are doing their work there. The mining with impunity is no longer there.
The evidence of the lost gains of the fight against illegal mining was the increasing pollution of water bodies such as the River Pra and the destruction of forest cover in protected reserves.
The quality of the water as a raw source of water for the plants to use to process and give us good potable water is compromised. But the way things are going, if you don't stop the galamsey and stop disturbing the rivers and our water bodies, we will have no water to treat anymore.
The Atiwa Forest is one of the few rainforests on the continent with rare species not found anywhere in the world. The Atiwa Forest is in the eastern region of Ghana. The source of the Densu, Ayensu, and Birim rivers are in the Atiwa Forest. These water bodies are the source of water provided to more than 5 million Ghanaians daily. Aside these big rivers, there are more than 90 small streams flowing from the hills in the forest. Despite its critical nature, the forest is subject to the degrading effect of a range of human activity such as illegal mining, illegal logging, and government's intended commercial bauxite exploitation. My first
Okay. All right, that's just a bit of it. We do hope to repeat this documentary later on TV3, and I'm sure we'll communicate the time to you. But like the song said, there are three major, rivers that run through the Atiwa Forest, which is the River Ayensu, River Densu, and River Birim. That eventually joins the Pra River as well. And so we have to preserve our forest reserve as much as possible. Unfortunately, galamsey has, taken a large chunk of the forest reserve. But joining me in the studios this morning is Mr. Daryl E. Bosu. He's the Deputy National Director of Arocha Ghana, and they are the ones who put out that economic report on Atiwa Forest to indicate that if we turn it into a national park, we'll make more money, and reap more benefits from it than if we mine the bauxite as well. Tell me more about this national report as against what we're seeing happening in Atiwa Forest currently.
Great. So thank you very much. I think somewhere in 2015, there was quite a lot of pressure on the forest. There were interest to mining for bauxite. So I need to say that the interest to mine bauxite in Atewa is not with the current MPP regime, which began in 2017. Even before that, the threat was there. And so we're working with government and discussions. And one of the key things we realized would be very helpful for the discussion was we identifying the opportunities and proving that really securing the forest would bring Ghanaians more benefit. And what are these benefits? Because for a long time, this forest is set up to provide water services to Ghanaians.
Yeah.
Those of us in Accra, some in the central region, and even in the eastern region. And then you also look at all the people who live close to the forest, the benefits they get from the food, they go to the forest, the medicinal plants and all of that. So it's so unique that it's not something you say, okay, just for bauxite underneath or some gold underneath, let's bring it down. The services on the surface, right, is much more than what is beneath it. And we thought that we need to make a case to government for them to see, because that's what the politicians understand. And so we decided to do a study. It took actually a whole year working with several state agencies, and that really brought out to the fore that as the forest reserve, if we leave it as it is, there's no management, the business as usual scenario, we are not going to get sufficient benefit. And eventually, within a period of 30 years, we will lose it. But then, as a country, if we really want to sustain the services of water, considering the crisis that we are all faced with, and also the global, I would say, increasing scarcity of water services, we need to protect every water sources we have in this country. And to start with, we have to be with Atiwa Forest. So if we secure the forest as a national park, which will give it maximum protection, it will enable us to reap all the services of water and the ecosystem services of good air to breathe, well-being for the people, and also the soil enrichment services provided to farmers in that area. Then we also did another scenario and asked ourselves, what will happen to this forest if we turn it into a bauxite mine? And that's where we realized that once we convert into a mine, you remove clearly the forest cover, and when that happens, the water service within the region will be compromised, not only the surface water bodies, but also the underground water system. And so that will be compromised significantly. So you ask yourself, currently this forest is providing water for 5 million people. If you destroy it, where are you going to get water to service these people? And that was the biggest question. And so we realized that for Ghana to be sustainable, in view of our commitment also to sustainable development goals, SDG 6 and all of that, securing Atewa as a national park and managing for water service and other services was the best option. Because you cannot just replace the water service this water provides. It cannot. I mean, no amount of bauxite, no amount of gold you take from this area can replace that. I've not even talked about the significant diversity of biodiversity. This forest has been classified as one of 38 most beautiful and diverse places in the world to see biodiversity. And we are lucky as a country that we have this in Ghana. So there's so much opportunity for us to leverage this significant, I would say, classification of this forest for other services that would ensure that we have the forest. As they say, you eat your cake and you still have it. And there's so many opportunities now that you can't then think about anyone thinking that, okay, let's bring it out for the small bauxite in there. That really does. So that is how come the study, which was the economics of Atiwa Forest, was done, and it provided, and really after that particular study, the minister then, Honorable Newday then, came out to agree that really, if you look at what we have at stake, it was better to not do business as usual, to rather manage the area as a national park. So I can say that right before the elections in 2016, there was some national process of the Ministry of Lands, Forestry Commission, everybody, to make sure that this national park agenda comes to bear. And unfortunately, it all changed somehow.
Exactly. I mean, we have the Sino-Hydro deal alone that's going to give way for mining of bauxite, and it's likely to be in the Atiwa Forest as well. I mean, that alone depletes the forest reserve to some extent.
Exactly. So the thing is that the Sino-Hydro deal, when it came, I mean, it's an opportunity for Ghana to leverage our natural resources. Nobody is against that. But we have always also argued that as a country, we must ensure judicious use of our forest resources. You can't just put all your eggs in one basket and say, because you have bauxite, we are going to destroy all forest reserves with bauxite, without considering what other services they provide. So Sino-Hydro came, but the good thing that the Sino-Hydro did was that even though it was recognizing the use of our bauxite as collateral for that particular fund, it also allowed for both government and the Chinese to renegotiate if that collateral is becoming risky.
Okay.
So for me, there is a big opportunity for Ghana to still get resources, funding, but seeing that the Atiwa Forest is not the option for bauxite, government of Ghana has the option to also renegotiate. And the agreement allows that. So what really beats our mind? I mean, recently we've had the Chinese come forward and say they are willing to support the government of Ghana and all of that. The Chinese themselves have what you call green civilization in their constitution. They are promoting serious ecological well-being and health in China. So we also expect that the same attitude will be reflected in their foreign policy and investment.
But they've told us, and I remember that when this whole Operation Halt issue came up, they came out and said that, but we don't know where the gold is. We don't know where, you know, the minerals are. You Ghanaians know where it is, and you're the ones who lead us there. So really, if you're not ready to protect your environment, how do you expect us to want to protect your environment?
Exactly, and that is how come sometimes we put a blame at the feet of our government, because I'm not sure that the Chinese just got up and say, we want to take your bauxite in Atewa, knowing that this area also serves 5 million people with water. I'm sure our government maybe missed out on the opportunity to do the necessary due diligence before they went out negotiating that, okay, we have bauxite, we have bauxite, we have... But the fact is that all the information that was needed to give us a good appreciation of what this forest had to give Ghanaians was always available.
Let's go back to that documentary that Alfred worked on, where he spoke to one of the Galamseyers. Mind you, it's not only bauxite that can be found in Atiwa Forest. Also, there are some gold deposits in there, and like we're told already, vast land has been cleared due to Galamsey activities. This is what the young man had to say.
We are only crushing stones to extract gold. Our activities doesn't lead to any pollution of the water bodies. We have created our own waterbed. In his effort to convince us that the activities aren't a threat to the water bodies or the environment, he took me through the process. This is the chamfam, which crushes the stones. We are aware we don't have to pollute the water bodies with our chemicals.
And that's Alfred Okanse in a conversation with one of the men there. He says that what they're doing is not Galamsey. They're only crushing stones to retrieve the gold deposits in there as well. And they had to pull the water from the water source. So they think that they're far away from it. And so, I mean, clearly they're not working against the law. What do you say?
I think one of the things about these mining operations we have seen is that there's no way any of them can claim that they do not work with water. Water is the first casualty when it comes to mining. And for large-scale mining, they have a way of abstracting. They go for permit from Water Resource Commission and all of that. These people don't do any of that. So they deliberately have to settle close to a water body. And what they usually do is that those who can and have resources, as you saw in some of these Operation Halt videos, is that they use tubes to connect to the river, pull the water in, use it to treat. But when you are done, where does the water go? They don't let it flow in somebody's farmland. There are occasions where they do that, but most of the time, they let the water flow back into it. So whilst people are sleeping in the night, they open the channels that they have created. So initially during the daytime, they would put a dam, try to divert the water and all of that. Then in the night, they open for all the wastewater they've generated to flow back into the normal stream. So you get up in the morning, your water is a little bit murky, you don't know what happened, but that is actually what is there. And for us, the unfortunate thing is that we think that because the water has cleared, That is it. But these processes go with certain chemicals that can stay in the riverbed, that can accumulate in plants and animals and all of that. So for anybody who says I'm doing galamsey, even those who claim they are doing rock mining, to say they are not using water is just not true.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, and that is why it is actually a very regulated industry. Mining should be a very regulated industry because it has impact on the land, it has impact on water. So for anybody to get up and say, I'm going to do mining just behind my backyard, it's unacceptable. And that was how come I always say that allowing galamsey to perpetuate, continue for this long is actually an injustice to all the rest of us who depend on the land for farming, for water services. Yesterday I was watching some other videos from other stations talking about communities who are forced to drink this water.
Yeah.
This moment, I would suggest that government needs to provide these people with clean drinking water. All communities who are affected this way should be stopped from consuming this water.
But where do they get the clean water from? That's the problem. Because
well,
Ghana Water Company is already saying that it's becoming
to supply
more
them
difficult.
processed water and give to them. Otherwise, I think for now we might not be seeing anything. If people start getting sick in some few years to come, we should know where, we should be able to trace where that is coming from.
Does this mean that we've lost the fight? Because, I mean, we've been fighting galamsey for God knows how long. And then every time we attempt, there's some excavators that are missing, there are excavators that are bent, there's an outcry, and then government readjusts, re-strategize, and says, okay, we're going to fight it again. And we've seen that play out clearly recently, where they're using the same tactics. I mean, they might have some new introductions here and there, but then it's literally the same tactics we're seeing. And we're asking that, is burning excavators the best way to go? I mean, saying that people are mining at night, so we'll come after you if you decide to go mining at night and all of that, and using the military men who in the past were alleged to have been compromised. All these, we've seen them play out. We've seen the end results. And we're doing the same thing again? Is that even a step in the right direction?
So you see, at the moment, as a country, we have no choice than to allow the government to continue deploying these measures that they have. I had confidence in Vanguard going to bring some sanity. But by the end of the period, we realized that it failed. And their main challenge, as they always said, was that they spent all the hours going into the bush, the field, they chase galamsey operators and all of that. They arrest people, and then the courts doesn't follow up. Or the police doesn't follow up with prosecutions and all of that. We have gone through a process where we have amended the Minerals and Mining Act 703. Now we have one of the most punitive, I would say, legal regime that regulates small-scale mining and all of that. We need to see a complementary enforcement and compliance of these laws. Otherwise, Operation Hot is out there. They are, again, chasing people. I do not subscribe to burning of excavators. We need to see that when they make arrests, all the people that are found culpable are brought to book. If we don't do that, and we are doing apologizing and using elite people in society and all of that, one of the key, I would say, recommendations that came out from the small-scale dialogue that was organized by the Honorable Minister when he took office was that we need to really deal with political interference and involvement, as well as people in society, some traditional authorities, some very well-placed people, some very, I would say they are not official, you don't know their faces, but they are the very powerful people who hide behind some of these actors and do all of these things. We need to let the law bite without fear or favor.
Are we ready to do that?
And until we do that, all this Operation Horse thing will just be a failure. So for me, I want to give the government the benefit of the doubt, but I also want to somehow throw a caution that we must be very careful not to repeat the things we did in the past. Operation Vanguard should have a moment in time. I'll say 3 months maximum, they should be on the field. But what we need to be doing within these 3 months is to ensure that the Minerals Commission, the police, the water resources, and EPA are adequately resourced with both human resources, logistics, equipment, applications, and tools to ensure they can monitor, regulate, and also the police will then support them with compliance and enforcement. This is key.
Yeah.
We can't keep deploying the military all the time into this. This is something that must be dealt with by our own institutions, and it can be done.
Yeah, it definitely can be done. We'll find another time to go deeper into this and talk more.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wrap up at this point. I've been speaking to Daryl E. Bosu. He's the Deputy National Director of Arocha, Ghana. They've been very vocal about opening up Atiwa Forest for mining, especially of bauxite, because they think that if we turn it into a national reserve, we can reap more benefits from it. And they gave a whole economic report. If you have time, you can go on there and read that report. It's quite extensive. You get all the information. But thank you so much for speaking to us. We're hoping that Mr. Kwame Ochedaku would join us. Unfortunately, that could not happen. Maybe the next time we'll have that conversation with him as well. But make time, go on our Facebook page at TV3 Ghana and our YouTube channels and watch that documentary that Alfred Okanso put together along with the news team. And he calls that Sacrificing the Greens for the Gold. We'll be right back with some more.
Asampaetia Obanyansa foso wo bunuye won kana asam te mafutu sam kakre wa supeme yo kofi oman ya woman omani ya mama yenyi baby akọ wacha ta ya wareni wonsom wonyini pa asa